Good morning. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Just a couple of moments, we're going to go over the January 2010 crime statistics for the month. Deputy Chief Kurt Putney is going to talk about the numbers, give you a snapshot of what we were up against in January. Following Chief Putney is going to be Major Gallant, Doug Gallant, who he's going to talk a little bit about our post-strategy, priority offender strategy team, and some of the successes that we've experienced in 2009. When these two gentlemen are done, they can take one-on-one interviews. We also have, we want to thank folks from Community Corrections for being here. Big partners in the post-strategy, and they'll be available for comments as well. Without further ado, Deputy Chief Kurt Putney.
Thank you, Rob. Morning. Through the end of January, the preliminary total for index offenses was down 17.3%. That equates to a 19.4% reduction in property crime, while violent crime stayed flat. We had 4 homicides reported so far this year, compared to 7 in 2009. That equates to a 43% reduction in homicides. All but one violent crime category saw reductions. That one category that was up was aggravated assaults. They were up at 224 cases this year versus 197 last year. Of note, 2/3 of those cases involved known offenders, and 2/3 of them were cleared by arrest. 184 robberies were reported compared with 200 last year, a decrease of 8%. 11 rapes compared to 19 last year, for a 42% reduction in rapes. Burglary overall was down almost 9%. 766 cases compared to 839. Residentials were up slightly by 3%, while commercials were down 41%. Vehicle thefts, we had 235 this year versus 331 last year, a decrease of 29%. Larceny cases overall were down by 22%. That was 1,750 cases compared to 2,252. Larceny from autos were down almost 34%. 836 cases compared to 1,264. And arson cases were up by 3 cases, from 26 this year versus 23 last year. Most importantly, though, we want to give you a story the story behind the numbers. The chief strategy for posts, the party offender strategic team, has really contributed to the reductions that we see in crime, especially property crime. To give you the details on that, I'm going to bring up Major Doug Gallant.
Thank you all for being here today. I want to briefly go back over. We talked about this several months ago about the post strategy, and today I will provide you with an update, some of the highlights. But first, for those of you who weren't present, I will talk about kind of how it works. As Chief Putney said, in January of 2009, we did come up with the plan to specifically deal with chronic offenders. Was identified as a priority for the CMPD strategic plan. Party offender strategy team was developed to identify and essentially hold accountable those individuals whose criminal behavior is having a significant impact on crime or fear of crime within neighborhoods within our community. It was implemented at the neighborhood level where prolific offenders are identified by either patrol officers or even members of the community. The priority offender strategy team includes representatives from the CMPD, Mecklenburg County District Attorney's Office, Community Corrections, ATF, and other law enforcement agencies within Mecklenburg County. The primary goal is simple: is to build solid felony cases on these offenders and hold them accountable as they travel through the criminal justice system at every level. The goals of the strategy were to incorporate all partners of the criminal justice system, to identify priority offenders for the entire Mecklenburg County jurisdiction. In other words, we had one group that we were concerned about, not various different groups. And also to utilize every available resource within the CMPD, but also outside of resources within the justice system. Some of the highlights for 2009, there were 245 priority offenders arrested by the CMPD during that time. Some were arrested multiple times for a total of 632 arrests. These offenders were charged with such crimes as armed robbery, breaking and entering, larceny from auto, and auto theft. The spirit of the strategy is essentially to improve information sharing throughout the criminal justice system to ensure that everyone has the most accurate information so they can make better decisions about these offenders. One of the things that we do to accomplish that, we have bi-weekly meetings, which includes all the representatives, including CMPD, DA's office, community corrections, and we have representatives from every unit within our department that come to these meetings. And during the meetings, we discuss the status of the offenders' cases. The DA's office does an excellent job of putting that information out there. We actually have two representatives, Ellie Kaludro and Tim Seeloff, come to all of our meetings. They do an excellent job of putting out status of cases. So that way everybody knows where the offenders are in the criminal justice system. We also exchange information and discuss strategies. One of the things that we've seen over the past year or two is that most of our offenders are not only, they're operating in various different neighborhoods amongst the whole city. So when years ago you had offenders that operated in one division or one neighborhood, a smaller area, we're seeing them expanding throughout the whole city. So it's important that we have the ability to communicate department-wide. This strategy actually gives us that ability as we have officers that can talk, and they can talk about not only where the offenders live, but where they're operating, doing their crimes at. Another way that we improve communication, our officers attend court proceedings involving these offenders. They provide information to the ADA, or if they have the opportunity to provide information to the judges. And that goes back to our strategy of doing everything that we do at the neighborhood level. Because if you think about it, the officers work in these neighborhoods every day. They have a stake in the work. They have a stake in the crime. They truly care, and they can actually speak for these communities in these hearings. So that's a good thing, big part of information sharing. We also improved information sharing with community corrections this year by providing them with access to the CMPD crime reporting system that you probably all know as KB Cops. This has allowed community corrections officers to have the most timely and updated information in order to help probationers, to hold probationers accountable. And again, the goal there is for them to have every bit of information they can have in order to make these decisions regarding their folks. Also in August, community corrections actually assigned an officer to work directly with the post strategy. Since that time, since August, we've had 26 post offenders arrested for violating the terms of their probation. Also, the district attorney's office has markedly increased their prosecution of habitual felon cases. During 2009, 416 habitual felons were prosecuted in Mecklenburg County. This compares very favorably compared to 2007 when 202 were prosecuted. And again, this is another great example of agency aligning their priorities to make sure that these cases are prosecuted, which ensure leads to a safer community. And also the CMPD Crime Lab prioritized and processed 38 cases involving 29 priority offenders. This, of course, has allowed us to present the strongest case possible to the district attorney's office, and in some cases actually helped us to identify offenders that committed these crimes. A really good case example, and it's really a simple case, can show you kind of how the strategy works. In a recent case, CMPD assisted community corrections with the search of